Hello there. Today, I want to talk to you about selling your company. Maybe this is not something that you're thinking about doing right away, but if you're thinking about selling your company in the next 10 years, then you want to listen to this, because when you sell your company, you want it to be worth as much as possible, right? Like that, you want it to be worth as much as possible. Generally, smaller businesses sell for about 3 to 5 times their EBITDA number. So what's EBITDA? EBITDA means earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And that's really just a fancy way of saying like operating earnings. So your revenue minus your general expenses that you required to operate the company. And they look at that number because those are generally what you need to, that's what's under your control for the most part. So I'm not going to talk more about that. What you need to know is that's the number that generally, when a company is valuated or valuation happens, that's the number that they're looking at. And you can get between 3 and 5 times what your last year's EBITDA number was as the selling price. Now, this is a pretty general thing. There are lots of ways to value a company, but for today, this is what we're talking about. But larger companies get a much bigger multiplier than that. And so small companies, I'm talking about EBITDA of about $750,000 to $2 million. So not really, really small even. But larger companies tend to get between 6 and 12 times their EBITDA numbers. And it's not because they're bigger, it's because of these 5 things. I'm going to go over these 5 things that make a big, big difference when you're looking to get somebody to buy your company or basically invest in your company. So the big companies get a better multiplier. One, because they're not owner dependent. So if I was going to go and buy a company and I went and talked to the owner and I went and I looked at their systems, and it turned out that the owner was required basically to run all these systems, then that company would be a lot less valuable to me because I am not the owner and I don't have somebody that could necessarily fill in for that owner because all of the systems were built around a specific person. So when you're thinking of selling your company, it's really, really important to create a company that can run without you. This can be so hard to do as a small business owner because in the beginning, the business is created around you because you are the business. But as it starts to grow, it's really important to create systems and to put managers in place so that you do not need to be running the company. And that's actually the second point, is management. So having people in management positions that are competent and that are going to be able to run the company when you're not around. Big reason why larger companies get bigger multipliers. The third reason is vigorous lean systems. So these systems are efficient. They're not just in place because that's the way we've always done it. They have a purpose. Things are meant to be efficient. And these systems can be things like apps that you've got in place or specific supplier, like networking, supply chain, that's what I wanted to say. That can be a part of this, but creating really, really efficient systems within your company can help you to get that bigger multiplier number. Having engaged employees, also a big one. This one, I feel like, is actually easier when you're really small because you have that personal relationship with your employees. So I can, as the company gets bigger, I can imagine that this would get harder, but having really engaged employees is a really important to getting a big multiplier for your company, because those employees have a lot of, I don't want to say inherent value because they're human beings, but like the knowledge that they have and the way that they do their job and the support that they can give to each other and stuff like that. That's what I'm talking about by having really engaged employees, because you don't want them to leave when you sell the company. And the fifth one is a solid 10-year track record of about 18% EBITDA growth year over year. So that's not something that you can decide on sort of a year before you retire. That's something that you really have to focus on year over year. And smaller companies are generally profitable every year, but having that consistent growth year over year is really going to help you to maximize that multiplier number. Because really what an investor is looking at, why those 5 things are important, is because what an investor is looking at is, am I going to get 10 times what I'm paying for it and then some back from this company? Because if they're not, then they're not going to pay you that 10 times number, right? Like if they're buying a company, they're investing, then they're going to want at least, I don't know, depending on the market, 20, 25% back on their investment. So if you have a company that depends on you to run, it does not have consistent growth year over year, the systems are not super efficient, there's not a really good purpose to all those systems, your employees sort of come and go, and the management team that you have is, you know, your people that you hired, and then maybe they're doing a good job, but maybe they're friends and you don't want to let them go, that sort of thing. The company can still run and be profitable, but those things are not ideal for an investor. So definitely want to have a look at those 5 things if you plan to sell the next 10 years. And those are long-term, I don't want to say issues, but they're long-term projects to take on. So definitely not something to be trying to change a year before you want to sell. If you want to talk about changing your systems, if you think that you want to sell in the next 10 years and you want to talk about how you can get the most out of your company, then I would love to chat with you about that. You can book a call with me at kirkcpa.ca/call. I've also left that link in the description. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you. Oh, I almost said I'll see you tomorrow. That's left over from last year. I'll see you in the future.